Namaskar. This is the last day of the workshop on Sanskrit drama. During the past 9 days, we have discussed 13 Sanskrit plays covering the vast spectrum of more than a millennium. We have covered the last millennium before Vikram Samvat and also the first millennium after Vikram Samvat. Today we are moving to the next millennium, that is after 10th century. And the Western scholars have been alleging that Sanskrit literature, Sanskrit knowledge systems have declined after the 10th century. But on the contrary, we see innovations being made in all the genres of Sanskrit literature, especially in drama, and Sanskrit theatre and Sanskrit drama entering into the new grounds. And this we will see today. 2 more plays I want to discuss in this last lecture. So all in all, it will make 15 plays that we have discussed in this workshop. The 2 plays that I propose to take up for today's discussion are, we go to slide number 1, Mallikamakarand and Prabuddharauhineya. Both of them are the plays written around 12th, 13th centuries, and they belong to a different tradition, a departure from the tradition that the earlier plays discussed by us belong to. So these are the names in slide number 1 and the authors are given in slide number 2. You can see that both these authors are Jain Munis. So we enter into the area of Jain literature, enormous mass of literature in Sanskrit, not only in Prakrit, produced by the Jain authors, and especially in the field of drama and Katha literature, fiction. Their contribution is enormous. The plays we have so far discussed were authored by the poets who belong to the Vedic traditions. There is a vast mass of literature produced by the Buddhist and Jain authors, and that is equally important. That is a essential part of our literary heritage. No history of Sanskrit drama and Sanskrit theatre can be completed without the mention of the plays of Ashwaghosha, which of course, very unfortunately, have been lost. There is a Lokananda Nataka, authored by Chandra Gomin, the great grammarian, the author of Chandra Vyakarana. That Lokananda Natak is based on a famous Jataka story of Manichud Jataka, that was lost in India thanks to the pains taken by Professor Mikhail Hahn. That play has been recovered and the English and German translations are available. We see that Sriharsha, the author of 3 plays in Sanskrit, Priyadarshika, Ratnavali and Naganand, he was largely influenced by Lokananda of Chandra Gomin, especially in Nagananda. In the same way, Jain authors, they have also immensely contributed to dramatic literature in Sanskrit. And the Jain Munis are writing plays in Sanskrit, but their literary quality and from the point of view of their aesthetic perception, the plays are very important, and they are no less important than the plays which we have been discussing during the last 9 days of this workshop. So these 2 plays, Mallikamakarand by Muni Ramchandra and Prabuddharauhineya by Muni Rambhadra, we will discuss today. For their editions and translations, we go to slide number 3. Mallikamakarand has been published by Early Institute of Indology, Ahmedabad in 1985. The Hindi translation of it, done by me, was published in Natyam Quarterly, number 9. It is around 1990, and Prabuddharauhineya, the first edition, was brought out by Atmanand Sabha of Bhavnagar in 1914. A reprint was issued in 1918 also. Its Hindi translation has been done by me and published again in the Natyam Quarterly, number 2, around 1981. And it has also been issued in book form separately. Both these plays have also been published in the 3rd and 4th volumes of Natya Sahitya Mala, edited by Muni Vijay Yog Tilak and others, published by Veer Shashan, Banaskantha, Gujarat. So we come to the first play, Mallikamakarand by Ramchandra. So for his introduction, we go to slide number 4. Muni Ramchandra is a well-known figure in Sanskrit literature. The students of dramaturgy, Natya Shastra, know him as the major author of Natya Darpana. The co-author is Gunachandra. So in collaboration with Gunachandra, Ramchandra wrote Natya Darpana, which is a very important text in the field of dramaturgy, drama and dramaturgy, an essential text. And Ramchandra was contemporary to King Siddharaj Jayasimha, a well-known king from Gujarat, 12th century. And Kumarpala, who ruled after Siddharaj Jayasingh, and his son Ajaypala, he is contemporary to these three kings. He lived a long life, and that was of course not a very happy life, especially towards the fag end of his life. He lived in great distress. So Ramchandra was disciple of Hemchandra. Hemchandra is known as Kalikala Sarvagya and a great author in diverse fields. He has written in the field of Kavya Shastra, in the field of Vyakarana. He has written epics, and in various other forms he has written voluminous writings. He has contributed to Sanskrit literature, and he was the chief disciple. This Ramchandra was the chief disciple of Acharya Hemchandra. Hemchandra declared him as his Patta Shishya during the reign of King Jayasimha, as referred. And Siddharaj Jayasimha also had a high regard for Ramchandra. And the talents of Ramchandra especially bloomed during the reign of Kumarpala, who was a patron of literature and especially Jaina religion also. And he created enormous mass of dramatic literature and other writings also. So many plays by Muni Ramchandra. Unfortunately, some of them have been lost. References in Natya Darpana, of course, are available. Last days of Ramchandra were spent in great distress and suffering. He lost his eyesight due to old age. He has given expression to his anguish and suffering during the last days of his life in his Stotra Kavyas. Destiny had many more sufferings in its store for him. Ajaypala, the successor of King Kumarpala, was unfavorable to Ramchandra. He had developed a kind of apathy for Jainism, and he got him killed by putting him on burning iron sheets. I do not know how far this is true, but references are there to show that Ramchandra was put to death this way. And this unfortunate incident happened around 1173 AD. For the works of Ramchandra, we go to slide number 5. Ramchandra describes himself as Prabandha Shatakarta, an author of 100 works And we have titles of as many as 47 works by him. So I don't intend to produce the list of 47 works. We are concerned with his dramas, and especially his available dramas. And out of his available dramas also we will be discussing only one play, that is Mallikamakarand. He has written at least 3 prakarnas, and other prakarna by him which is available to us, Kaumudi Mitrananda, is very interesting, equally a great prakarna. He has written prakarna, he has written Nataka also, he has written Vyayoga also, Nirbhay Bhim Vyayoga. So he is a prolific author, and unfortunately the 100 works which he must have authored, as many as 53 of them have been lost. Titles of 47 are available, and out of which 27 are Stotra Kavyas, and there are a number of Shastric works, Natya Darpana on dramaturgy, and many works on religion and ethics and philosophy. Only 6 out of his 11 plays, he wrote 11 plays, and he refers to them, these 11 plays, in his Natya Darpana. He also cites some stanzas from them. So his lost plays, they are partially, they can be recovered through the citations that he provides in his Natya Darpana. Otherwise they are lost, but 6 out of these 11 plays by him are available. So I have given the list of these 11 plays, the list of these 6 plays which are available in slide number 6. Nal Vilas is a Nataka type of Rupaka. Satya Harishchandra is also a Nataka. Kaumudi Mitranand is a Prakarana. Nirbhay Bhim Vyayog is a Vyayog. Raghu Vilas is a Nataka on Ramayana story. Mallikamakarand is again a Prakarana. We go to slide number 7, and the way Ramchandra is described in the prologues of his plays, in the prologues, prastavnas of his available plays, we can understand that he was held in high esteem by his disciples, by his colleagues like Gunachandra, and by the kings, at least by Siddharaj Jayasingh and Kumarpala, and the society venerated him. And in the Raghunath Vilas Natak, the Sutradhara praises Ramchandra in the following way: Pancha Prabandhamisha Pancha Mukhanakena Vidvan Manasadasi Nratyati Yasya Kirti. His fame dances in the mouths of the scholars through his Prabandhas. And Vidyatrayi Kirana Chumbita Kavya Chandram. He has written on the 3 Vidyas, and he kisses the moon of poetic fancy also. Kastam na Veda Sukriti Kila Ramachandram. Who does not know that Honorable Ramchandra? In the prologue of Nalvilas Natak, Siddharaja has given him, we come to know from the prologue of Nalvilas Natak that Siddharaja has given him the title of Kavi Katar Malla. Kavi Katar Malla would mean a wrestler with a dagger drawn amongst the poets. So the title suits him, because Ramchandra makes scathing remarks on the hypocrisy and the exploitation done by the priests following the Vedic tradition. And in some of the plays especially, he names some of the sages of the Vedic tradition and portrays them in another color. That was perhaps the reason that a class of Puritanists, those who did not like his criticism of their religion, they were against him, and they saw to it that he is tortured that way. So the names of the characters of the play Mallikamakarand I have written on the slide number 8. Mallika is the heroine, and her parents who brought her up, Shreshti and his wife, they are also the characters. Makarand is the protagonist, and Chitrarekha is the real mother of Mallika. She lives Mallika immediately after her birth in the human world and hands over to her to this Shreshthi, asking him to bring her up, and the condition is that she will be taken away when she completes 16 years of her life. Gandhamushika is a lady monk. She lives in the world of Vidyadharaj. Chitrarekha also lives in the world of Vidyadharaj. And there is a Shreshthi, another merchant, who is being tortured by this Chitrarekha. So she appears as a villain in this play, although a lady, and a Vidyadhari, of course. So these are the departures which Ramchandra makes in the tradition. So he portrays Vidyadharas and Gandharvas in another light, and he portrays the Vedic seers also in a different light. And the merchants, they are honorable and noble. Merchant Vaishravana, he is a very honorable person, very upright person. Manorama is his wife. So these are the main characters. Of course, there are some maids, Bandula and others. Mallikamakarand is a prakarana in 6 acts, and the heroine Mallika in the first act, she goes to worship Kamdeva. She goes to Kamdevayatan, the temple of Kamdeva. Every day she has to worship Kamdeva, and worship is done in the night. So she goes to worship Kamdeva. It is almost midnight, and it is dark moon, there is no light. And Mallika knows the doom that is imminent, that is approaching. So she is very disappointed with her life. She loves her parents, who didn't actually give birth to her, but they love her, and she knows her destiny, that she will be carried away on her next birthday, and that day is approaching very soon. That day is coming. So she is very dejected, and in the mood of dejection, when her maid has gone to pluck the flowers for worship, she sneaks into the garden and tries to hang over herself. At this juncture, Makaranda, who is the protagonist, he comes running in the garden. He is being chased by his fellow gamblers. It is a scene similar to the gambler scene in the Mrachakatika, that Samvahak is being chased by his fellow gamblers because he has lost the stake and he has to pay, and he is unable to pay. So this Makaranda, although he is son of a wealthy merchant and he was doing good business, but he is fond of gambling. He lost all his money in the game of gambling, and he is running in heavy debt, and he is being chased by those persons who lent him money, and he is running to save himself. So running, he enters this garden, and in this garden, in a very dim light, because it is midnight and even the moon is not there, so in the very dim light of the stars, he sees that some lady is trying to hang herself. So he grabs that lady, who is actually Mallika. Mallika becomes terrified, and she says that if you are a thief and if you are after my ornaments, please take these earrings of mine and leave me here. Spare my life. Makaranda says that I am saving your life. I am not here to take your ornaments, but I am here to save your life. Meanwhile, the maid, she comes running there, hearing the noise, hearing the shrieks of Mallika, and she asks what is the matter. Makaranda tells her that your mistress was going to commit the suicide. I have saved your mistakes. I have saved your mistress, and she is, on the contrary, she is accusing me of being a thief. So I am not a thief. I am an honorable person. And then in this way they depart. The hero and the heroine, the Nayak and Nayika, they could not see each other properly. They could not look into the face of each other. And Makaranda is holding the earrings given by Mallika, and they depart. This is the first act. You can see the powerful dramatic narrative that Ramchandra creates. And it's a very enchanting narrative, full of so many ups and downs and so many wonderful incidents. In all his plays, he does this, especially his prakranas, based on folk tales, folk narratives. The perspective of Jaina ethics and Jaina religion is there, but the incidents, they are quite unique in the sense that they portray the lives of merchants, Jaina merchants who are making voyages. They are landing on islands and very strange things happen in their life. So the Prakrana literature like Mratchakatika or Malti Madhav or Mallikamakarand, they are different in the way. So the Jaina Prakranas or the Prakranas by the Jaina authors, they bring us into an entirely different kind of life experience. And this Prakrana also, in Kaumudi Mitrananda, the hero with his two friends makes a voyage and he reaches so many strange kinds of islands and very strange happenings are there. Bizarre happenings, you can say, proceed in the play, in the play Kaumudi Mitranand. And in the same way, this play also is full of very queer incidents. And first act ends with this departure of the hero and the heroine, and Mallika, although she has not seen the face of Makaranda, but by his way of addressing her and by the way he talked to her, she is almost mesmerized by his personality and she has fallen in love with this man. And next day her parents are in a dejected mood because they know that only today or tomorrow that Vidyadhari will come to snatch away their beloved daughter from them. And at this time again, Makaranda goes from the road in front of their house. He is again being chased by the gamblers, and this Shreshti sees Makaranda in the trap of those gamblers. So he says that if you will save me from crisis, I can repay the debt to these persons who are chasing you. So Makaranda says, okay, I will do anything for you. And the Shreshti pays the debt to those persons who are after Makaranda. Then Makaranda asks him, what should I do? So Shreshti tells him that my daughter is haunted by a doom. She will be carried by some evil spirit. And we have a warning. When we found her as a small baby in a box which was lying there, or which was given us to by that Vidyadhari, we found a Bhurjapatra with a note that this baby will be carried away by me on her 60th birthday, on the dark moon day of 14th in Posh, in the month of Posh, and that date has now come. So we want to save our daughter. We don't want her to be carried away in some other bird. Makaranda said to save himself from the persons who are chasing him and who are after him, he said that I know some ritual to dispel that evil spirit. So don't bother. Shreshti pays his debt, and then Makaranda, you see, he performs the fake ritual, a kind of ritual he is doing, and in that ritual the Shreshti promises that if you save my daughter, I will marry her with you and I will give her hand to you. And Makaranda is performing a ritual and he makes a mandala. In that mandala he puts those very earrings given by Mallika. So Mallika is startled and he says, he tells the maid standing who was with her last night, she tells her that these are the earrings that I gave to that man. So Makaranda is that way recognized that he is the person who met me in the dark moon night yesterday and they are already in love with each other. So they are married after that ritual. But after that ritual, and they are having their nuptials, but that ritual doesn't work because that Vidyadhari Chitrarekha arrives on the spot to snatch away her daughter. And Makaranda, with his sword drawn, he chases her, but she disappears, and he follows her. Somehow, by some supernatural happenings, he reaches the Vidyadhar Loka. So the second act ends here, and the third, fourth, fifth acts, the locale in these acts are the Vidyadhar Loka. So Makaranda somehow reaches the Vidyadhar Loka, and he is searching for his beloved. And to save Mallika from his sight, this Mayavini Chitrarekha, her mother, has converted her into a young boy in the guise of a young ascetic. So that young ascetic meets Makaranda, who has arrived in this Vidyadhar Lok. And the locales of this Vidyadhar Lok, an imaginary world, are described very vividly. There is a temple where Makaranda goes, and this Mallika, in the guise of a young ascetic, meets him. They have a very interesting talk. Makaranda tells her story, the story of her love. And this young tapas, who is actually Mallika, rebukes him for falling in love with a lady. So all these things happen, and this Chitrarekha is very much annoyed that man pursuing my daughter has reached my kingdom also. So she is trying to save her daughter from the hands of Makaranda. And meanwhile, one day, when Makaranda is going on one of the streets in that Vidyadhar Lok, he hears some cries from a building, from some house, and he enters that house. He sees a parrot encaged, and that parrot talking in a human voice, and he's calling me, please free me from this cage. I am not really a parrot, and if you free me from this cage, I will help you. You just touch me. So the Maya of that lady who has encaged me will be vanishing if you touch me. So with the touch of a human being, her black magic will fall apart. And Makaranda, to help that parrot, he touches him. That parrot becomes Sreshti Vaishravana. He tells him his narrative, his story, that I was living happily in my city, in the world of mortals, and this Chitrarekha visited me sometimes. She fell in love with me, and she made gestures to me. She proposed to me. I told her that I am a married man. I denied her lustful advances, and she kidnapped me and brought me here. My wife somehow followed me here, and my wife is also in distress. She converted me into a parrot and put me in this cage. So, since you have freed me and you have again made me a human being, I will help you. Makaranda also tells him his story. So now the story proceeds further. There is a lady monk in this Vidyadhar Lok, Gandhamushika. So she comes to know of Makaranda. So she promises Makaranda that I will help you. I know that you are passionately in love with this Mallika, and another Gandharva, Chitrangada, who is a kind of villain in this drama, he is trying to marry her, and the mother of Mallika also is all set for marrying her daughter to Chitrangada, but we will see that marriage doesn't happen. So in this way the story proceeds further, and Chitrarekha is marrying Mallika with Chitrangada. So Gandhamushika hatches a plan, and she says that you agree to marry Chitrangada. We will find out a way that you are saved from marrying him. So marriage is to take place, and the custom in the Vidyadhar world is that the bride, before her marriage, is first to be married with Yaksharaja, with the statue of Yaksharaja, a ritualistic marriage, a kind of formal marriage with Yaksharaja is done, and after that the real marriage with the real bridegroom is performed. So Gandhamushika manages to place Makaranda in the form of a statue, in the posture of a statue of Yaksharaja there, and Mallika is married to that statue, who is actually Makaranda. And just when Chitrarekha says that now that ritualistic marriage is over, that formality is over, and my daughter will be given to Chitrangada, now Gandhamushika, who is her guru also, tells her that you can't do that, because it is not a statue to whom you have married your daughter. He is a real human being. So I will advise you not to come in their way. They are lovers, they love each other, they are made for each other. You marry your daughter to Makaranda. Ultimately, Chitrarekha, though very much unwilling, she had to agree to the advice of her guru, Gandhamushika, and she gives the hand of Mallika in the hands of Makaranda. In this way, in the 6th act, this story ends happily. So this is the in nutshell, this is the plot of Mallika Makaranda, and it is a theme of immortal love, and the immortality of love that can fight, that can lead a human being to fight even the divine beings, even the Vidyadharas. So Ramchandra successfully narrates that story of love. It's a passionate kind of love between young people, but the love that gives both of them a courage to fight even the divine beings, like Damayanti, who could resist the moves of gods also. So Mallika also resists the moves of the Vidyadharas, and Makaranda also fights them, and they stand together, and ultimately they win. The language is very simple and powerful language, of course, and suited to the kind of theatre for which this prakarana is made. It is the theatre of prakarana, full of ups and downs, and many complicated incidents go on happening. So there is a rapid movement, and that sort of theatre needs a kind of language, powerful language. So there is no great scope for poetic skills like Vabhuti's Uttaram Charitam or Anargaragvam. Otherwise, Ramchandra is a skilled sculptor of dramatic art, and there is not much time, so we will have one example of the poetry as well as the rasa treatment, the delineation of rasas in this play. It portrays almost all the rasas. Shangara is very much there, and Adbhuta rasa is running concurrently right from the beginning till end in this play. Right from the first act, there are incidents which make the audiences wonderstruck, and they are spellbound by the rapidness of the incident. And there is a logic, of course. There is a link of the incidents connected to each other. So this is the dramatic art of Ramchandra. And besides Shangara and Adbhuta, there is a strong sentiment of pathos, Karuna Rasa, in this drama. In the lamentations of the parents of Mallika, her foster parents who brought her up, and it's a scene of pathetic experience. And in the Vidyadhar Lok also, his Shreshti Vaishravana, he has his tale of woes, and the way Makaranda also is tortured in the Vidyadhar Lok. He is put in a prison, somehow he escapes from there. So all these tales of their woes and tortures which these characters undergo through. So there the Karuna Rasa is there, and Bhayanaka Rasa is also there, because the characters and the audiences also with them stand terrified by many of the happenings, and ultimately Shanta Rasa is also there, because the poet delivers a message of non-violence and truth and non-violence through some of the characters. The parents, foster parents of Mallika and Gandhamushika, the lady monk, and especially the character of Makaranda also. Ultimately, he turns towards peace and he turns towards the ethical way of life. So the play culminates into Shantarasa. So in this way, there are all emotions, Chinta, Glani, Asuya. They are also very well portrayed in this play, and I will cite an example of Shangara Rasa. Slide number 9. Makaranda is describing his beloved. Hasyam hasyataram shashanka yashasam bimba dharas sodara piyushasya vachansi manmatha maharajasya tejansi cha. It is Manmatha. Drashtir vishtapa chandrika stanatati lakshmi nati natyabhu auchitya lankarnam vilasakarnam tasya prashasya vadhe. You see, he deliberately maintains alliterations, the beauty of alliterations, Anupras Alankara, to make the recitation part attractive, and make his language or the delivery of the dialogue also powerful that way. So he is not very much concerned with intricacies of aesthetic perceptions and imaginations. Rather, he wants his audience to be enamored of the beauty of the words. So hasyam hasyataram shashanka yashasham bimba dharas sodara. So comparing her to the fame of moon and her lower lip also, and her words like ambrosia, and her brilliance like Manmatha or Kamdev. So Piyushasya vachansi Manmatha Maharajasya tejansi cha, and Drashtir Vishtapa Chandrika. Her side glances or her sight is like the moon rays, and Stanatati Lakshmi Nati Natya Bhu. So all these alliterations, Stanatati and Lakshmi Nati, they create a kind of structure of language, and everywhere Ramchandra makes these kinds of structures also. His dialogues are beautiful. The dialogues are more simple, and they communicate the feelings of the characters. So we see that the main features of Mallikamakarand, they form a saga of human love that prevails upon divine interventions and evil spirits. And the folk tales are there. You can open slide 10. The folk tales and motifs of folk narratives are there. They are beautifully woven into the plot and in the whole structure of Mallikamakarand. And as I have told you, Veer and Shangara are predominant, but Adbhut and Shantarasas also percolate the whole structure. There are several episodes delineating the sentiments of Pethas, and the Jaina view of life and Jaina ethics are of course faithfully portrayed. And that of course doesn't diminish the literary beauty of the play, which otherwise is a marvelous play. So in almost all the plays we have discussed till yesterday, the protagonists are worshipping Hindu deities. They are going to temples. In Bhavuti's plays, Malti Madhav, of course we didn't discuss it. But in several other plays, the Vedic deities are being worshipped. And the Nandi verses eulogize some god, like Balrama in Bhasa's plays, Vishnu also, and Rama also, Krishna also. So that doesn't come in our way to appreciate these plays. We study them and enjoy their literary beauty and their quality for the quality for theatre. So our secularism, if we are secular person, so that doesn't come in our way of appreciating the plays we have discussed so far. So if Jaina ethics and Jaina view of life emerges in this play, that should also not come in the way of our appreciating this play. This I am saying because I find that the plays by Ramchandra are neglected. The play which I am going to discuss, that also is a neglected play. But they should not have been neglected, because the authors, they deserve our attention, and they are great authors. So we come to the next play, Prabuddharauhineya by Muni Ramchandra. Go to slide number 11. So Muni Ramchandra wrote this play at the request of Yashovira and Ajaypala, as he himself informs us. And this Yashovira and Ajaypala, they were wealthy merchants, and they were sons of Parshvachandra. Otherwise, you don't know anything about them. We also come from the prologue of Prabuddharauhineya that Muni Ramabhadra, the author is Muni Ramabhadra, not Ramchandra. Ramchandra is the author of several plays, and one of them we have discussed, Mallikamakarand, a prakrana. Prabuddharauhineya also is a prakrana. So both the plays we are discussing are prakrana. But they are different kind of prakranas. They differ from Mrtchikatik and Malti Madhav and several other prakranas. There are so many prakranas written in Sanskrit. And those authors who were writing histories of Sanskrit literature, they were not noticing these prakranas. They were not noticing all of them. They took notice of Mrtchikatikam and Malti Madhavam, and some of them took notice of Mallikamakarand by Uddanda Kavi. He is a later author. But many of the prakranas, at least 50 or 60 or 70 such prakranas, because a research work is there in Sagar University, and a thesis done on the prakrana literature in Sanskrit. So that thesis lists more than 60 such prakranas, and a great corpus of prakrana literature in Sanskrit was there. And every prakrana is not like Mrtchikatikam. They take different themes. They may be taking the themes of journeys performed by the merchants, voyages performed by the merchants, and different kinds of life experience. But it is middle class society. It is not the upper class, the Dhirodatta Kshatriyas, but middle class society being portrayed in these prakranas. So this Prabuddharauhineya is a very unique play. You won't find another prakrana like this by Muni Ramabhadra. So about the date of Muni Ramabhadra, we know that he was a disciple of Muni Jayaprabhasuri, who was a well-known Jain, who was the disciple again of a well-known Jain Nayayika, Devaprabhasuri. Devaprabhasuri is a well-known Jain philosopher, Nayayika, and this Jayaprabhasuri was the disciple of Devaprabhasuri, and Devaprabhasuri's disciple is Muni Ramabhadra, who authored this play. Devaprabhasuri passed away in Vikram Samvat 1226. This date is known from the biographies we have, and therefore Winterlich gives the date of Muni Ramabhadra as 1185. He must have been born around 1185, he says. Muni Punyavijayaji, who has edited this play, places Ramabhadra in 13th century. So he is an author of 13th century. Prabuddharauhineya, as I told you, is a very interesting play. And like the two prakranas of Muni Ramchandra, Kaumudi Mitrananda and Mallikamakarand, both of them are published by LD Institute of Indology. Very interesting plays. So this Prabuddharauhineya is also based on a folk tale, and many folk motifs are interwoven in the play. And Rohineya is the hero of the play. He is a robber. So you can understand how this prakrana differs from the other prakranas or other plays in Sanskrit. This perhaps is the only play and a prakrana also in Sanskrit which makes a robber, a thief, as the hero. And a wonderful narrative that unfolds here. That must have been a popular tale. We have such tales in the folk tradition being narrated in the villages of Rajasthan. In the rural areas we have stories about the thieves who took some vow and ultimately he was converted, he was transformed in the end of the story, but he is a brave thief, he is a very courageous thief, and this Rohine is a robber of that type, he is a Dasyu. And another character in the play is Abhay Kumara. So they are confronting each other. Abhay Kumara vows to catch Rohine alive. He is a minister. And so far as I know, Abhay Kumar is a well-known figure in the Jaina narratives. There is Abhay Kumar Charitam and an epic on him. I am not sure whether he is the same Abhay Kumara, but Abhay Kumara, the minister, is an important character in this play. So Rohine, a robber, a Dasyu, and Abhay Kumara, the minister, who is a very righteous person, who proceeds as per the Dharma, as per the Dharma Shastra and law. And this is the tussle between Abhay Kumara and Rohinaya. This is the theme of the play. And we go to slide number 13. The theme of the play, of course, is the problem between crime and punishment. There is a criminal and the law cannot get hold of him. The courts cannot do justice, as we find nowadays also. So, because evidence cannot be found against the criminal, so he cannot be punished. This is a universal theme, you can say. Every time this has been the situation that the criminal is caught, but there is no evidence to punish him. So the dichotomy between the criminal and the state, and ultimately the transformation of the criminal. This is the theme of the play. So, okay, we go to the story of the play. It is a play in Prakarana in 6 acts, and the first 2 acts depicts the robberies and the thefts committed by Rohineya. Very interesting scenes are there. The first act opens in a city park, and a lover is sitting on a bench on a Shilapattaka with his beloved, and they are making love to each other. They are talking sweetly, and when the lover goes to pluck some flowers, Rohineya, who has concealed himself in some shrub, suddenly comes out and grabs that lady and takes her away. And she cannot even shriek. And when that man, her lover, comes, she finds the bench empty, and he is unable to find his beloved. Nowhere he can see her now. And throughout the play, this man is unable to find his beloved. Maybe, we are not told of course, but maybe in the last act, when everything is resolved, he might have regained his beloved. But Rohineya functions so dexterously, in such a clever way, that that person couldn't even notice that his beloved has suddenly been taken away. So, in such a hurry, so quickly, Rohineya would do all these attempts, would make all these attempts at robbery or at theft. So this incident in the city park is shown in the first act, and with the lamentations of the lover, that act ends. Second act opens with a marriage scene. The marriage is being performed. The marriage of a small boy and a small and a girl, child. It is being performed. The relatives from the both sides are rejoicing. They are dancing and singing. Merriment is going on. Rohineya approaches this scene, and there is a huge gathering. What he does, that he hurls an artificial snake on the crowd. So immediately there is a pandemonium, people start shrieking and they disperse away, and the bridegroom is left alone. He is crying, the boy is left alone, and he is just a bundle of ornaments, because it's a marriage between two very wealthy parties. So he is bedecked with all sorts of golden ornaments. Rohineya cannot take out all the ornaments. It will take time if he takes out all the ornaments. So he takes away the boy himself. He carries away the boy, and nobody could notice him, because there was a pandemonium and hustle and bustle, and they were running away from the snake. And when they find that it was not a real snake, it was an artificial snake, the bridegroom has gone. The bridegroom has disappeared with Rohineya. So these are the manners of Rohineya. He commits his crime in this way. So in 2 acts we have a glimpse of the way Rohineya proceeds. Then this crisis deepens. The crisis in the city deepens because of all these robberies and all these attempts at theft being pursued by Rohineya. So people of the city approach the king and they say that we are not safe under your rule. There is a robber who is committing crime after crime and we are in danger. So the king summons his ministers and his staff, and he asks them why this is happening. They tell him that that robber is very dangerous person and he is very clever, so we are unable to catch him. And the king is then furious. He gives a notice to the minister Abhay Kumar. He is the senior most minister and a very wise person, an honest person. So he warns him, the king, that if you do not catch that robber within 5 days, I will sentence you, I will put you to death. I will announce death sentence for you. So Abhay Kumar is left with 5 days. He has to catch the robber in 5 days. So he lays trap everywhere to catch that robber. He already has some idea where he is going and where can he come. So Rohineya, of course, now has become more daring. He thinks that I have been doing small crimes and small robberies I have been committing. I will do some theft in the royal palace itself now. He knows that people are after him, the administration, the royal personnel are after him. But he is a very undaunted person and very courageous person. So he dares to think about entering in the royal palace. So he is going towards the royal palace, and meanwhile what happens that Mahavira Swami is delivering his sermon. And this Rohineya was forewarned by his father, whose name was Lohkur. So he was forewarned by his father at the time of his death that you should never listen to any sermon by Mahavira Swami, because if you listen even if a single word from him, that will deviate you from our dharma. Our dharma is to rob people, to loot people, to loot the rich people. Maybe we disperse those riches in the poor people. This is our dharma. But if you listen to Mahavira Swami, that Jain ascetic, you will be changed. So never listen to him. He will lead away you from our dharma. So this warning note he had given to his son when he was dying. So Rohineya always remembers his warning. And when he is walking on the street leading towards the royal palace, Mahavira Swami is delivering his sermon. So Rohineya puts both his fingers in his ears, not to hear his sermons. Okay, this Swami is delivering his sermons and I will ask my father not to listen to his words, so I will close my ears and I will pass away from the scene. But as the luck would have it, a thorn sharply pricks in one of his feet. So Rohineya gives a shriek, and he is of course a man of good heart, a strong person. So he walks away with the thorn in his feet. He is not ready to listen to the sermon, so he walks away in that state, but that pain of the thorn becomes unbearable. So he says that only for a moment I will take my index finger from my ear and take out this, pluck out this thorn, which is giving me this unbearable pain. So he takes out his finger from the ear and plucks away the thorn. At this juncture, some sentences spoken by Mahavira Swami fall into his ear. So Mahavira Swami is addressing the audiences with these words, that now I will tell you the characteristics of divine beings, of gods and Vidyadharas and Gandharvas, the celestial beings. The characteristics of these beings are that they don't perspire. They don't have perspiration. They don't blink their eyes. Their eyes are never blinking. And the flowers of their garlands, they remain always fresh. They do not wither away. So these are some of the characteristics of the Devatas, divine beings, including the Gandharvas and the Vidyadharas. This is Swami Tirthankara is telling the audiences, and unwillingly, very reluctantly, Rohineya hears these words and he unplucks the thorn from his head, again puts his fingers in the ears and rushes away from that place and reaches the precincts of the royal palace. And he is very much lamenting that I couldn't keep the word given to my father. He had asked me never to hear the words of that Mahavira Swami. Unwillingly, I had to hear some words spoken by me. I am such an unfortunate son. I am unfaithful to my father. So he is repenting, lamenting this way, and he enters. He tries to enter. He climbs the wall of the palace and he is caught because Minister Abhay Kumar is vigilant. So he is caught. Next day he is produced in the assembly before the king in the court, and Abhay Kumar tells the king that this fellow was found sneaking in the precincts of the royal palace, and he is the thief. He is that robber whom we have been searching, and he is the person. So king tells him that okay, if you have found him, we give him death sentence. Minister tells that we cannot give him death sentence unless it is confirmed that he actually is the criminal. So they ask him to present his side, what he has to tell before giving him the death sentence. Rohineya then starts in a very theatrical manner. He is a very clever person. So he starts in a weeping tone. He says that I am a poor innocent village person. I belong to a village, Shaligram, and I came to visit the city, just came to see the sights here, and I was walking near the royal palace, and I was caught by the royal personnel. I do not know why I am caught this way. I have nothing to do with any theft or any robbery as you allege. And if you don't believe, you ask any person of that village, Shaligram village, you send your persons there and bring any person from that village to testify, to give their testimony for me. So the king sends his men to that village Shaligram, and all the folks of that village Shaligram, they stand with robber Rohineya. This has been the way of the robbers in our times also, like Daku Man Singh. The village folk are with him. He is very, very benevolent towards the poor people. So all the persons of that village, they testify that yes, a person of this name, he gives the name of Durga Chanda. I am Durga Chanda belonging to that Shaligram village. So they say yes, a person of Durga Chanda is a farmer here. He is a very simple person, innocent person. They testify. So Abhay Kumar tells the king that we cannot punish this man because there is no evidence. So this is the issue between the law and the criminal. The law is unable to catch the criminal because evidence is not there. And king says that, he has cooked up all these evidence. You know the ways of these thieves and robbers. And since you know that he is a criminal, we all know that he is a criminal. He is doing all these histrionics. He is just playing a game. So he put him to death. But minister says that no, we can't deviate from our dharma. Our dharma is as per law. We cannot punish a person until there is a conclusive evidence that he is a criminal. So we can't deny justice to this man. So give me some time. I will make him confess. So king says, okay, I am not in a mood to give you any time, but if you insist, you are a good person, you are a knowledgeable person, an honest person, so take your time. So what Abhay Kumar does, that he makes arrangements for the stay of this Rohinaya in a very good palatial building, and he is lodged with all the comforts, with all royal comforts. And he says that, okay, I believe that you are not a criminal, but just stay here. We will provide you good hospitality. Rohinaya is understanding his game. He knows that he will be trapped someday, but he is abiding his time, and he is having good time. He is treated in a very good way. He is given all hospitality. He has good food and good wines. So one day he is made to drink lot of wine. He is almost addicted. He is almost drugged, and he falls into deep sleep. It's a slumber he falls into, and a scene of heaven is created meanwhile around him. Actors and actresses, natas and natis, they appear in the guise of Gandharvas and Vidyadharas and Apsaras, and a very beautiful scene of the gateway of heaven is created, and Rohinaya hears very sweet songs, beautiful music is being played, and slowly Rohinaya is awakened from his slumber, from his sleep, and he is a bit startled that the whole scene has changed. So he is wondering where I have come, and suddenly these natas and natis in the guise of Apsaras and Gandharvas, they start singing his praise in a very beautiful manner, and they start telling him, sir, you have arrived on the gates of heaven. You are such a pious and nice person that after your death in the mortal world, you have arrived on the gates of the heaven. You are in the waiting place, and Lord Indra will call you, and we welcome you here, and we tell you one condition of having access to arrange your meeting with Lord Indra, that you will have to tell us if you did anything wrong in the mortal world. So Rohinaya, because he is in a state of inebriation, he is drunk, so his mother is there, so he comes to believe that yes, perhaps I died in the mortal world and I have reached on the main gate of the heaven, and they will allow me to enter inside the heaven. I will have a happy life there, free from all the sorrows of the mortal world. So when they are asking me to tell if I have done anything wrong in the human world, so I will tell them that yes, I was a robber and I committed some robberies. Let me tell them. So he is just going to blurt out the tale of his robberies. At that juncture, he notices that those persons who are posing as Gandharvas and Apsaras, their eyes are blinking and they are perspiring, and the flowers of their garlands, they have withered. So he immediately understands the whole game, that it is all drama they have created. So he now comes to his senses. So the effect of the drugs is over, and he understands that yes, that minister put me in this house, and they have created this scene. They almost drugged me, and they want to trap me this way. So then he also joins the game, the whole drama. He says, "Oh, okay, I am very happy I have arrived here, and see, I was a very virtuous person in the mortal world. Otherwise, how could I have come over here? I did all the right things in my life." So those Gandharvas and Apsaras who are actually the persons employed by Minister Abhay Kumara, they are shocked and they tell him that okay, you were a very righteous person, very honest person, but you must have done something wrong sometimes, because it is the nature of a human being that every human being is not always virtuous and pious. Someday he commits some mistake. So if you have committed any mistake or mistakes, please tell us. But this Rohineya cannot be persuaded, you see, and he firmly insists that no, I didn't do anything wrong in the human world. And Abhay Kumara is standing behind, he is seeing all this drama. So he is convinced that this man cannot be trapped. He has such a good luck. So he again goes to the king with Rohineya and tells the king that we have to free him. I have done all my best to trap him. He cannot be trapped by any way. You just free him, because I will advise you not to award any sentence to him unless I prove that he is a criminal. Even if I know that he is a criminal, I will not advise you to give him any sentence, because as per law, I won't do that. The king is a Sachivayat Siddhi king. He believes in the counsel of this minister. So he says, okay, what you say, but I won't do that. If I wouldn't have done that if I had my way. The minister says that I will ask him to confess still. And maybe he confesses. So he again approaches Rohineya. He tells him that we will free you. You see that I have advised the king. The king proceeds as per my counsel. I have advised him to free you. We will free you. I assure you that we will free you. But now tell us who you are, who you really are. Rohineya then tells them very frankly that I am that Rohineya Dasyu whom you have been searching. But now I am a changed man. You see, after hearing a few words by that Swami, I could save my life. Now you will not punish me. You have assured me, you have given me a firm assurance. So now I quit that sinful life. I am going to join the sect of that Mahavira Swami. By his 2 or 3 words he could save me from a death sentence. So maybe he will save me in another way. When I reach in another world, he will save me. He will be my savior always. So with this message that Rohineya departs from the scene, the play ends happily, and we are running short of the time because it's a very interesting play, and I could have given some examples from the dialogues. They are very interesting and piquant dialogues. The way Rohineya threatens the people, the way he proceeds in his actual life, and the way he functions, and his language also, and the language of this minister full of his wisdom. So in this way, this play, a unique play, but has remained a neglected play. After it was translated into Hindi by me, I saw to it that it is performed on the stage, and we had its stage performance at a place which is supposed to be the oldest remnant of Indian theatre, a cave theatre near Ambikapur in the caves of Sita Benga. So there is a theatre. So on that theatre we performed this play in original Sanskrit. It was a wonderful experience because it is all a valley, an open valley, and there is a small stage inside that cave, and there is an inscription of 3rd century BC in that cave stating that Rupadaksha lived here with his consort, and that inscription almost 3000 years back tells that the programs of music and dance were being performed, and there is a small stage. So we performed this play. Under my direction it was performed, and there is one Dr. Kshetravasi Panda, who is a professor here now. He performed the role of Rohineya there. It was a momentous event and a memorable experience, because if you just speak a word in a hushing tone on that stage, that is heard at a long distance, it echoes very clearly throughout the valley. The ecosystem of that place is such. That is why they were performing there, perhaps. And that the Hindi translation of this play also was performed many times by under the direction of one Inder Mohan Singh, who was a professor of Sanskrit at Punjabi University, Patiala. He directed it and performed it, the Hindi translation. And when we saw it on the stage, it reveals its power. It's such a gripping and memorable experience to see the play on the stage. So it is rather an unfortunate thing that such a great treasure is lying unnoticed, and this play Prabuddharauhineya must also receive the attention of the scholarly world, and the theatre people should look towards such plays. Those who are interested in Sanskrit theatre, they should accept these plays now. So with these words, I would like to come to the end of this lecture. Many more details may have been there, but I will leave them. And we have been together for all these 10 days. So I owe certain apologies. I might have committed certain mistakes of omissions and commission. I came to remember that I have pronounced certain words wrongly, and on the second day I was reciting the Nandi of Shakuntalam. So Pratyakshabhi Prapannas Tanubi Ravatuvas Tavi Rashtavi Risha. So I added a sa in a hurry to recite it. It is not Pratyakshabhi Prapannas Tanubi Ravatu Sava. It is Pratyakshabhi Prapannas Tanubi Ravatu Vas Tavi Rashtavi Risha. That was a mistake. On the other day, in a hurry, I was speaking and I translated Odisha as southern region. It was a slip of tongue. So many such slips of tongue I might have committed. So for that, I tender my apologies. And it has been a good experience for me to be speaking on Sanskrit drama all these 10 days. And I convey my sincere thanks to the authorities of Bhandarkar Oriental Institute and the authorities of Infosys academic program for having sponsored this event. And I also thank Miss Chetna Gosvi and Chinmay Bhandari and Dr. Sanjay Dwivedi for their technical assistance, without which this program could not have materialized. And I am especially thankful to all the learned scholars, the members of this audience, the distinguished persons who have joined these online programs. Many of the names were familiar to me. I could read from the comments there. I have no words to thank them, because it is because of them that I could speak whatever I could speak, and they are a part of this program. If there is anything like a success in it, it is because of them. So with these words I conclude. Thank you very much. Thank you.